I'm happy to share that this episode is sponsored by UltraSignup. UltraSignup is the leading marketplace for discovering, registering, and managing trail running events across the United States. I've personally been using UltraSignup for over a decade to find fun adventures, sign up for events, and share opportunities to be active outdoors with friends. With a mission to promote the spirit of trail running and outdoor adventure, UltraSignup hosts a diverse range of races and events. When you visit ultrasignup.com, you'll find over 5,000 events, about half of which are not ultra distance. Some don't even involve running, like ski mountaineering, cycling events, and even last paddler standing. You'll also find stories highlighting runners, race directors, training tips, running destinations, and the growth of the sport in their weekly newsletter and online magazine. Visit ultrasignup.com to explore the possibilities and plan your next adventure. Today's episode is also sponsored by Bay Trail Runners. Rooted in passion for getting out on the California trails, Bay Trail Runners was founded by Robert Rhodes in 2012. When he passed away from cancer in 2021, he chose Todd Glieden, our guest today, to take care of the community and continue to host these inspiring and challenging events. One of my very favorites of these events is coming soon. Napa Wilderness Trail Runs kicks off the morning of May 17th. Whether you're a seasoned trail runner, just starting out, or just want to come hang out in nature, there's a place for you here. You might come out for the 10K fun run, half marathon, 30K Scenic Trek, that's where you'll find me, 50K endurance challenge, or 40-mile elevation beast. Make it a weekend adventure by camping out under the stars and soaking up the energy and natural beauty. And if you'd rather not run, but you still want to be a part of the fun, you can always cheer or volunteer. Volunteers help with setup, food service, and creating a welcoming and energizing atmosphere. All runners and volunteers are treated to a post-event lunch with burritos, wraps, salad, and cold drinks. You can connect with Bay Trail Runners on Facebook and sign up for the race directly on UltraSignup. Get the links in today's show notes or go straight to ultrasignup.com and search Napa Wilderness Trail Runs to register. Hope to see you there. Today, our guest is Todd Glieden. Todd Glieden is a testament to human resilience and the transformative power of running and community. Having triumphed over formidable health challenges, including cancer, a heart attack, and a severe knee injury, Todd has not only reclaimed his physical strength, but has also dedicated himself to uplifting others through the sport he loves so much. An accomplished trail runner himself, Todd's passion for the sport has been both a personal lifeline and a communal bridge. He channels his experiences into mentoring and supporting fellow runners, emphasizing the therapeutic and unifying aspects of being outside together on the trails. Through organizing community runs and participating in charitable events, Todd exemplifies how personal adversity can be transformed into collective empowerment. Today, Todd shares his inspiring story of recovery, how running played a role in his healing process, and how connecting with others has supported his health and healing. His love, hope, and resilience are palpable, so you're truly in for a treat. Please join me in welcoming Todd to the show. Welcome to the Healthy Community Podcast. Todd Glieden, I'm so happy to have you here. We've known each other almost 15 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to share you and your experience with listeners. It's a little different. So I've had a few episodes now where instead of being super clinical and interviewing people who are studying things, we're talking to folks who are going through things, have been through things, and you've been through some things.
We've been through some things.
The hope with this is to shine some light on the everyday healing that's happening all the time, to recognize how hard it is. It's easier to talk about healing trauma than it is to actually go through it. And I'm hoping that listeners can derive some inspiration, but the kind that comes from the reality of you living through what you've lived through and thriving the way that you're thriving now. For folks who don't know us from running on the trails, Todd and I met through a running group, shout out to Run with Clay in Oakland. We've run road races together, trail races together. We just did 11 miles or so in Yosemite the other day, celebrating life, celebrating trails. And I'd love for you to share with folks, Todd, how trail running became such a central theme and thing in your life.
Mid 30s, 35-ish, I was diagnosed with lymphoma, and it was something that changed my life forever in a better way. A lot of people get really freaked out about cancer and living with it. I don't think I discovered myself until then. Really had no direction in my life, was just doing the day to day, working so hard and getting nowhere. And, not knowing if I would ever come out of that hospital, the extreme amount of chemo, surgeries, everything. I almost think it didn't affect me how I thought it was going to affect me. I thought it was the end of the world and you just stopped at this and went home and lived forever long. And I enjoyed watching the people around me.
Hmm.
I think it was harder for them to go through it than me.
Interesting.
I saw a lot of people in the hospital. I was there for about 90 days at Stanford and would go home for a couple hours sometimes before I'd get sick again and go back. The people that came out of my life that helped me and were around me were completely different than the people I thought would be there.
So interesting, right?
Yeah, people I barely knew come over, give me a ride, bring me food. And it got to the point where I just really enjoyed learning through the whole experience and
Yeah.
trying to make the best I could of it. But I lost a lot of people, people that I worked with every day and
Well,
thought I would see every day. And some I've never seen in 22 years since then. So when I got out, I'm like, new lease on life, let's do this. It kind of backfired. I went back after a year or two of trying to get really healthy, reverted back to my old ways. Then I discovered a running group and
yeah.
kind of changed everything in my world, even till today. I started slow, met
Yes.
you and a lot of people, and went from being very shy and not even would approach people I didn't know.
That's so funny to me. Oh my goodness. I would never
Now,
describe you that way.
yeah, I remember the first time I went there, I found this group on Facebook. I look at the pictures, there's going to be 15, 20 people there. I'm very nervous about going. And there was two people and I went up to the wrong group. And from that day on, it became a part of my healing and a part of just trying to make things better for myself before I could make things better for others. And now it's kind of come full circle because I own a running company and enjoy so much giving that back to the people that gave that opportunity to me, traveling the world,
Yeah.
literally, spending weeks and months in other countries and being able to share my experience and just I think part of my joy now is to watch somebody that has never experienced, whether it's running or something else, do something they've never done or wanted to do and find out that it's all right,
Yeah, that they can do it, right?
that you can do it.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful process. I remember meeting someone in a meditation group and I was running the half marathon at the time, early around the time we met. And she was like, "Oh, there's no way I could ever do that." I was like, "Oh, you totally can." And I recommended American Heart Association's training group. And
Yeah.
there was one over in Alameda where she was. And I was like, "You don't even have to run it. You can walk it, you can rock it, you can do it however you want to do it, but you can do it." And she
Yeah.
did. And she reached back to me and was like, "Hey, thanks." I was like, "I knew you could do it." Sometimes you just need
Yeah.
to be a part of a community that sees what you can do or to identify what you want and decide to go for it, right?
The process started there 22 years ago and it's never ended. And there's so much more. I never thought I would do the things that I've done. I've run almost 70 ultra marathons, road marathons, hundreds of half marathons. If you look at me standing on the street, I am not the person that looks like I run down the street, and um, I was very competitive and had to be the best and wanted this. And to me now, I just want to be there. I want to be there with the people.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy my time alone. I enjoy healing in my own world with nobody around me, looking at nature, being there, standing in the rain and the mud, and it's special. But then in turn, I like somebody to enjoy that with me.
Yes.
So to go out and give that experience to somebody else now in my life is
Mm-hmm.
great feeling
Yes.
and strive for it all the time.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about, I know there's a video of us splashing in puddles in the headlands in Marin, right? And there are plenty of times where we'll reach out and just be like, where are you going this weekend? What are you doing? 10 to 30 miles? Perfect. Let's go, you know? So sometimes going out with a friend, it's planning a big group. And other times, and I know you and I both appreciate this a lot, just secret squirreling it, going on your own or not even telling someone you signed up for a big race and just letting it be yours. Maybe sharing when you're finished with it and celebrating together. But there's something really nice about what you're describing in trail running of you can be with yourself, you can be with one other person. And it's nice because even on runs, if we're doing 12 to 30 miles, like we're going to talk the whole time. We can talk at certain points. You can be together. You can be together apart. You can be totally apart. Like, oh God, where'd Todd go? I have to find him on the trail. And all of that is a part of it. I'm wondering what you've come to love most about trail running in all these years.
That there's no end.
Yeah.
You can go wherever you want. And I was having this discussion earlier. You think you start out with a plan for the day,
Right.
and it's trail running, and you have weather and obstacles and road closures and trails that aren't there anymore. And you go and you discover things. And to me, it's like living. It's not a structured thing. I could turn this direction or that direction, and which am I going to go? And as I've gotten older, I usually choose the harder way because
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm ever going to have that opportunity again. I held back in my life so much growing up. It was so structured. You've got to go to school, graduate, you have to have a job, a family, and all this. It's in your head that you have to do that. Now, for me, it's the opposite. All that can happen, but I need to be happy first until the cancer kind of scared me in a way that I realized I had to do anything. And then I am 8 or 9 years out from having a heart attack, and that changed it again. And
Yeah.
I really, to the point where if I don't try it, I may never have the opportunity. So I've tried more things since then. I love to tell people I've run all my marathons since I've had my heart attack.
Wow.
And if you add them all up, we're in the 80s. And I've never felt better. It's a struggle with age.
Yeah.
It's a struggle to finish them now. But it's something that until I can't, I will. And
Yeah.
when I can't, I'll be there to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever lose that. Things will change and shift in life and in the world. Things are going to be changing in the world we live in shortly. So my goal is to continue doing what I'm doing and sharing what I've been able to go through and tell people that you don't have to give up when you have trauma in your life, when something happens. I had this conversation with somebody this morning, and it's like something didn't go your way, whether it's physical, mental, whatever, but you have the opportunity to do something about it for the rest of your life, whether you're here 5 years or 50 years. I have to give myself that opportunity to give back. It's just something that I don't see myself not doing every day.
Can you take us back to, you've mentioned now being diagnosed with lymphoma, you've mentioned having a heart attack. Can you take us back? one at a time to like what was going through your mind? Because it sounds like your experience is unique and maybe a little different than the norm for a lot of reasons. So, what was going through your mind when you first found out you needed treatment for cancer?
Very unknown. Had never spent time in a hospital or through any kind of prolonged treatment. I literally thought I wasn't feeling good and had the flu. Went into the doctor, and I did not come home for 89 days. They scanned me, found a huge tumor, and I went in the next day and had my whole entire chest cavity from top to bottom opened, taken out. It was cancerous, the tumor. So I went straight into treatment. I think the biggest shock was checking in for the treatment at Stanford, and my mom was with me and basically make arrangements to not be there tomorrow if something happens. Do you have somebody to sign your stuff over to, executor? You want to go to the fertility clinic before we start this in an hour?
Oh,
And it's basically sign here. And I just kind of was in shock. Then I handled it pretty well, but I had a lot of time. I was there, like I said, 90 days, and I would go days without seeing people, lying in a hospital bed with IVs on both sides. I think 130 staples still, and
wow.
not being able to call out. This is before I had a PDA. I didn't have a cell phone that you could type in and text all the time. And just kind of being there by yourself was a scary thing because I had days where I never thought I would come home. You have really dark days where the treatment is harsh and you feel crazy. And to top things off, this was 7 days after 9/11.
Ouch.
So the only thing that was on TV, every single channel, that the three or four in the hospital, was 9/11. Watching 24/7, people getting rescued, the towers, the planes. So you're completely either numb to it and turn it off or watch day by day. Well, they had it bad. I was in an older wing of the hospital and there wasn't much to see. And things slowly started changing. I slowly started getting out of bed, took my IV on a little walker with me. It was an older but nice hospital. I found my way down to the cafeteria and a Starbucks. That was my day to try to make it down there and back. I was right next to Lucy Packard's Children's Hospital. There was a lot of either babies being born or babies going through care. I would go over to the maternity ward and look through the window and look at new life starting. And it was the way I spent my day, just trying to get through it.
Mm.
And not planned, but my grandmother ended up there a couple floors above me with breast cancer
Wow.
treatment. And my cousin was in the pain and back area. So for several weeks, I had relatives there that I could sit next to them. And then I had days where there was nobody. People that just showed up, I would turn around and somebody I barely knew from work would be there with a bag or a stuffed animal or a plant or something. And it's like I really didn't expect.
It sounds like people showing up for you was really important and seeing something in these people who maybe you didn't even know that well. There was a openness or a kindness or a generosity or care. How would you describe how those people impacted your experience while you're in the hospital or even after?
All positive. For me, it was the caring that they took time out of their lives with everything going on with 9/11. We didn't know, we still weren't flying, we couldn't travel. They found that time. They're busy. I was not close to where I was working. My parents were, my mom was 6 hours away, my dad was an hour and a half away, my brothers and sisters. But then people I really expected to be there never showed up.
Mm.
So I kind of had to put that in perspective. I can handle that. I don't think they can.
Mm.
And, my roommate would come over a couple days, bring me food or things that I wanted to see, and, those 15 minutes to an hour became so special. I do remember I was in there for one of my birthdays and knew I wasn't coming out. But then as my treatment started to get towards the end, it was Thanksgiving. And I was looking so forward to being home, still not feeling well at all. At that point, no hair, very skinny, very fragile. But just being at home and being able to sit on the sofa for Thanksgiving. And then I got a fever again, and I didn't get checked out to the day after Thanksgiving. So it was before Zoom and all this. I got a call from my parents on Thanksgiving Day, and just so much wanted to be there. And I went through my time where I got mad because
Yeah.
I wasn't doing things I wanted to do. But looking back, I think that's actually what helped,
Mm.
to have the time to focus and really think about it. And it was different with the heart attack because my first question I asked is, when am I getting out of here? That one scared me. But since I had been through something before, that one was more like, when do I get back what I've now learned that I can do? Because I
Yeah.
had 10 years in between them, and I had come a long way in those 10 years and kind of had come out of my shell, made a place where I wanted to be in my running community and a part of everything. And I was bound and determined that that wasn't going to stop.
It sounds like the first experience was very unknown, but there's also this awakening to the value of life and the possibility and your choices, like that you can choose not just to do it how it's been expected of you or societal expectations, but you can do it and you can live the way that feels good to you and you
Yeah,
can make choices every day, and knowing that life isn't forever increases the value of each day. And so there's this making the best of it. And then 10 years later, heart attack. And you're like, when can I get back to just living my life?
my heart attack was on a Monday or Tuesday. I was home within 2 or 3 days, recovered pretty well, went back to work probably within 2 weeks. I had stints put in, and you know, it was it was a lot easier. The process seemed way too easy. It really did. I was in great shape. I was a fast runner. Things had really come full circle, and I was happy with where I was at. It happened because of my past health. I tried to run 4 weeks after
Mm.
and couldn't. I couldn't. I mean, I wasn't even walking the distance I wanted to because of the heart attack, and opted to go on some more stronger medicine, had some more tests done, and voluntarily decided to have another stent put in. And a lot of people, very few know this. Went in on a Tuesday. I was out like Wednesday night, had my other stent put in. Probably the scariest thing, I will still say, probably the scariest thing I ever did. I having this stent put in, and they're closing me up, and we're doing everything, getting out of there. The hospital staff was great, wide awake during the whole thing. I started to flutter, and my heart started to stop. And my heart rate goes down to like 13 beats a minute. Everybody that had left comes back, and adrenaline set in because you don't know if you're going to make it. And I just instantly, sweating, adrenaline, they're trying to keep me awake. And I wanted to go to sleep. I kept telling them I need to go to sleep. And people, they're moving you, they're trying not to. And then slowly starts going back up. It gets to a certain level, they all disappear again. Okay, it's over. That was on a Tuesday. And on Friday, I went with a friend to the city and ran a half marathon.
Oh, stop it, Todd. Okay. So, what do you say to people who are like, no, you should be resting? Because I know you
Oh,
go to your doctors all the
yeah.
time. I don't know if your doctor knew about that half marathon, but how do you manage that? Because here now you have this passion and you want to get back out, which I think people can relate to. I always think of this quote that's like, if your soul wants to dance, then resting is stressful and dance is restful.
I wanted to dance.
Yeah. And so I get that. And then I know people just have strong reactions around like, oh my goodness, you need to heal. Tell us about that half marathon and how did it feel? And what did your doctor say when you came back around?
So I went out with a friend, and I seem to do this to a lot of people these days myself, but she's like, I'm training, I've got to go do this. I'm going to go run and run ahead of you. Got your phone if you have any problems. My whole thing about healing, and, I talked myself into it, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. I never did anything I didn't feel completely safe with. If I felt I was going to have a heart attack or something was going to happen, I wouldn't have done it. And like I said, I think as I'm getting older, I'm taking more risks like that because I don't want to be that person that's not seen again and not heard of again because something happened. I want to be on the opposite end of it. And even now doing what I do, when I travel abroad every year, I have to go through a lot of tests, treadmill tests, scans, ultrasounds, my heart, and a lot of that is all on my own. Other than maybe needing a sign off from a doctor, my process to heal myself and to be where I want to be is to make sure I'm doing everything I can. So everybody's like, we'll see you next year. I still go to the doctor even for my lymphoma every 3 to 4 months. I get my blood test. And to me, that's my process. That's what's sound in my head that I can continue this. And we've had incidents where I've been told, well, that test's not too good, or what can you do? I do think a lot of it is mental, and, you know, what we've gone through with elections and people and power, I think that affects all of it for me. It's just not me, it's the world I live in. And I don't want to say, how do I make it a better place? I make it better for me so I can hopefully share that with somebody else.
Well, I think that's by definition what you're doing, right? You found a love of trail running, and now that's a big part of your work, and you host events for other people and you invite them in.
Yep.
I hear so many points of resilience or what we might even call post traumatic growth in here, like recognizing the value of life, valuing the opportunity you have each day to choose to do what you love. Also, even recognizing anger as appropriate and adaptive, like that was helpful. That helped me move forward.
A lot of my anger, I think it's there because I care. If you don't care, I don't really think you're going to get angry about anything. Why do I care? Why don't I just let things happen like other people? And it's just like I've tried so hard to be where I'm at that I do care. So I get angry. And sometimes I step back and go, is it worth it? Can I walk away from it? Do I need to be by myself for a couple days? Do I need to find my peace again? I post a lot of pictures, things for people to see, and a lot of them end with peace or to live your best life. And, my best life is definitely not somebody else's. I put a lot of pressure on myself to do what I want to do. Working for myself in the last 4 years has been a huge relief emotionally, maybe not financially, but to answer to myself and not somebody that's making a decision for me is a huge step. I was really afraid after the pandemic and after a bad job to take my future into my own hands. I could go back and get a corporate job like I've had. I went from training hundreds of people in a huge company to trying to train myself to be who I want to be. It's sometimes really hard. I have no problem now standing in front of 1,000 people and talking, which 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't get me in front of 3 people to talk.
And I
But
just have to let listeners know that Todd is someone that if I go on any trail, not even just in California, like we could be in France and we'll run by someone, they'll be like, hey, Todd, like everyone, Todd knows so many people in the running community. And I'll be like, how do you know them? Because these are people I don't know. I've been on a lot of runs with you. I've been a lot of places, I've been in some of the same groups, but how do you know them? How do you know them? Just different events, just getting to know folks. I mean, to hear you call yourself shy or
whoa,
any of those things is so, I mean, it's laughable to me now, but I get it, right? Of course, I believe you and I trust you. I just want people to know the juxtaposition of what you're describing as before or your internal experience and what people would see if they just went for a run with you. They'd be like, this is the most social person I've ever met. everyone knows them. There have been times where someone's run by and been like, "Hey, Todd, how's it going?" You're like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Who's that?" And you're like, "I'm not sure."
All
Right?
the time.
Like, it
That
happens.
caught me off guard. Like the first or second time I ever went to France, I signed up on an app here in America for Meetup. And I'm like, okay, it's social meetup for this, that, running dates, what. And I'm like, I went to my little meetup group and put myself through the subway. I had no idea where I'm going. No, not one person, and this is through this process that I'm not as shy anymore, but I literally walk across the street and some guy comes up and goes, "Oh, Todd, you're going to be here. I saw something," and knew me from here. And it's like
Right.
that stuff catches you off guard. And like you said, in the mountains of France, running with somebody and they turn around and see you. Maybe a year ago, I was up in the Marin Headlands running, and I had run with a girl at night in 29 Palms 15 years ago when the Boston bombing happened. We ran a relay race together, and I'm running in Marin in the light. And she ran up to me and remembered me from there. We have talked off and on for many, many years, but our lives have not crossed since then. Those are things that I really get excited about and can catch up with that person and where they're at now in their lives. And she just had a baby and got married. I met this girl on a run in the desert
Oh,
15 years ago. It is a small world. And to your point with the trail thing, what I think set me different from any other sport that I've ever watched or been a part of, when tragedy happens to a group or one of us, the community is unbelievable and supportive. I
yeah.
don't think without that support, I would be, where I am. Just unconditional support sometimes. People rally around. We've lost friends, in the community for one reason or another, and somebody's always there. I think it's special. You don't see that in the world we live in much anymore. And as our community gets larger and larger, being a small part of it is special to me. It
Yeah.
means a lot.
Yeah.
I had no idea when I met you all that there were groups and running people and people did things. I'll be honest with you, at probably 25 years old, 35 years old, when I met these people, I didn't know what a marathon was. I didn't know people went and did stuff like this. And it's really broadened my horizons in the world. It can take you to every single corner of the world. It literally can and has and will continue to.
There's something so beautiful, I think, about the community that we met through too, because it was so like naturally diverse and loving. And like that group, literally, were people that you would ask for a ride to the airport, would bring food to your house when you were sick, or if you had a baby, set up a food train, right? Like
Yep.
there was something about the culture of that group because I was coaching with I was participant for American Heart Association, then was coaching with American Heart Association with some of those people. It was really special and we all felt so connected and supportive of each other. And then I went and coached for another group that recruited me. And I swear people just like showed up and started their watches. I was a coach and I was like, I can change this, right? I was co-coaching and I was like trying to bring something to it that felt like our group, and it was challenging. There's something about Clay, who started Run with Clay,
Yeah.
obviously, and about the people that gravitated and stuck in that group that was and is really healing, and that I see as crucial in terms of having this safe space where you can share that you're recovering from something medical. You can be yourself fully, right? There's so many different healing models and things, but
Mhm.
I just see how all that shows up in there. And I love that you have continued to create that space through even casual runs that you host, but definitely through your organized events. It's very welcoming and inclusive and family like. And I think trail running is unique. Maybe folks have this in road running too, but I think trail running, because of that connection with nature, because there's sometimes a little more risk of like, I'm going to climb up this cliff. Hey, can you hold my hand? Stranger I've never met. What's your name? Now that you've seen me cry, right?
Yeah.
Like there can
Yeah.
be more vulnerability there, but with that vulnerability, there can also be more genuine connection. So, yeah, as you're describing that, I'm thinking about the healing impacts of the community in your life, in all our lives, right? For me too.
I think the community is a bunch of people that needed to be healed. If you look at it, there is a huge portion of the running community that are all recovering from some addiction. A lot of drug and alcohol recovery ends up in trail running. They have a new addiction now, just like I had. I had to be out on the trail every single day. I don't think the community lets you go backwards because I don't know anybody that's joined that community and has been able to slip and go back because there's always somebody there to help them heal. They post things, I'm not doing good today. And the amount of people that right then and there help that person and get them back to where they need to go. I don't see that in a lot of other things. I know if I ever needed help again for anything, I could post something. When I came out of breaking my kneecap and
There was
couldn't
that
walk,
too. There was the kneecap.
I posted something like, I need a ride to the farmer's market. I had a lady that I did not know respond to my post, and she came and picked me up in her car, and we spent the day at the farmer's market. And to have somebody show up, of course, I did a little research. Yeah, she knows this friend of mine, that friend of mine. Okay, I'm not getting kidnapped. I'm going to make it back. And it was like, okay, that was just an experience. And like I said, people come out to help because I think I've given that back so much. And I think a lot of it is listening and seeing what people want. They'll tell you. It
Yeah.
might be indirect, but people will tell you that they're in need of some help or they figure it out. Sometimes I'm kind of quiet and people give me a call or text, hey, everything all right? You haven't been out in a couple of days and that's not my norm. So yeah, something's going on. I will go out on a trail and I'll find somebody, hey, you want to meet here? And that's again, that's my healing process. There's so much going on in everybody's lives. We have to let each other help each other.
Mm.
And the more you open up to that, you make life friends. I'm really proud to say I could go probably anywhere in the world and find somebody I've known or corresponded with that I could stay with or, help me find my next adventure. And I cherish that a lot.
Yeah.
Don't ever want that to go away. And as I get older into this, the more and more I cherish that to, be to learn from other people.
Yeah. There's a couple of other things you mentioned that I just want to highlight because there's, of course, I hear things through a trauma therapist brain because that's what I have. When you talk about becoming self-employed, you're like, oh, maybe it was a little bit financially stressful, but it was emotionally really healing. That to me is the definition of empowerment. Same thing with going from living a life that's expected of you to living a life that you actively choose. So often in trauma recovery, we talk about feeling disempowered because a lot of times when there's something traumatic, it's something that sort of happens to us. It's not like we choose it. Of course, there's infinite variability in how things happen. But for the most part, it's like I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or I just happened to have this medical condition and didn't know, or I just happened into this relationship that was toxic. We could talk about all these other conditions around it, but that in and of itself can be very disempowering to have something happen that was not what you wanted, that was harmful to you, that was even violent, or it was a near-death experience. So for you to have the reaction, and I think this is exactly what we talk about in terms of post-traumatic growth, like, I'm going to reclaim my life. I didn't even know I wasn't claiming it. I'm going to claim it now. And I'm going to value it and I'm going to recognize my emotions. I'm going to trust myself. You also talked about going on that run right after your heart surgery, which again, like, I'm sure your doctor was like, well, I'm glad you're okay after you did it. But like, you were listening to your body. You're like, I never did anything where I didn't feel safe, right?
Yeah.
I know when you're running, you have heart medication with you,
Mm-hmm.
and that if something happens, that I am to give you this heart medication. So just having that sense of community that you've described, having that sense of empowerment, having people there to help you feel safe, but also trusting yourself around that. I mean, you even described it in like, oh, here's this wonderful community member is going to take me to the farmer's market. Let me look them up first. Okay, I feel safe. Let's go. And then the other thing I want to highlight is this slow, every day, step by step. You're in the hospital for 89, 90 days and you don't know what's going to happen, but you're there. And then you go to Starbucks, come back, and then you see your relative on another floor and come back. And it's just, I think a lot of people, when we are going through the thick of trauma, like it's hard. If I went and visited you then magically and was like, "Hi, Todd, I'm your friend from the future. You're going to run ultra marathons." You'd be like, "What?
Crazy.
Who are you? Get out of here, crazy person." Right? Like, what are you even talking? Like, it's just not meeting you where you are. And I think it can be hard when we're in that place where our day is walking down the hall and back. Sometimes that can be really hard to just sit with and be with and trust that things will change. But for anyone who's listening who helps people through trauma, who's in the thick of trauma, I think we know this like really slow, gentle step by step can move mountains, can have you moving all over the mountains in the
Can't
end,
have you hanging off the mountain
can
like
have you
a
hanging off
flirt,
the mountains and
like a
hopefully
flirt.
clipped in on the right ropes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Todd does those like what do you call the one at Broken Arrow, the Via Ferrata, the like cliff
Yeah.
ins where you're I'm like, once it turns into rock climbing, I'm good. I want to be on my feet. But yeah, Todd does the extra.
Those things, have made me even more sure that I need to continue doing what I'm doing. I think every year now, and I want to say in the last 5 years, even since my running speed has slowed down a little bit because everything just falls apart on the body, you know, I think challenging myself with shorter, harder things has really become what I've enjoyed so much. I like hanging off the cliff now and going someplace where I never even dreamed pictures were taken from there. I have my heart set on doing some things in the next couple of years, and I keep on getting super close and then have to back off. I don't want to die today, but I really need to do this because it's something I've dreamed about. I am a huge believer of dreaming and, you know, deja vu. And I put so much stuff in my head that I want to do. And then really reality check that, hey, I just did that and I dreamed that and I want to be there. It's not an easy task. I'm very okay sharing that. Sometimes getting help and working with a therapist or people around you to get through some of these things that scare you and you're not sure about is part of the whole process of making it better. And I believe my healing from my younger life is an ongoing, continually thing.
Mm,
I might tell myself, get out of the situation I was in, but there's always something there for the future. And I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of a failure, of not being able to do everything I want to do, but I'm going to try. There's always somebody out there that has done something I want to do. But to surround yourself by those people and have them push you a little bit to get to your goals has been a big part of my life. I wouldn't have gone on a lot of these adventures unless somebody showed me.
right.
Sometimes I look back and go, I wish you wouldn't have shown me that because now I've got to do it, but I enjoy it. I enjoy those thoughts every day. And I really do enjoy dreaming and trying to figure out, like, oh, what can I get myself into? Then again, I'm realistic with what my body can handle and my age and financials. I'm not going to be able to do everything, but I'm going to try as much as I can.
And what I hear in that too is chasing your dreams. And as you describe chasing your dreams, I just have visions of the vertical kilometer in Chamonix and me following you up there and then getting to the point where I'm like, wait, I have to climb over what? My heart is in my throat. Do I go back down or do I keep going up? I'm going to
Yeah.
keep going up. I got this, right? Like those moments of courage. It's not, but I mean, I know we all have different fear thresholds, and I think it's important to respect that. But there are moments where there's a challenge, something you're not, it's not just rote habit, right? You were talking about people coming from, perhaps some folks coming from addiction into trail running, and you can just use it as a new addiction, or you can use it as a healthy habit.
Mhm.
And you can use these moments as kind of training, like mini life experiences, right? Okay, here's this thing. It looks hard. What am I going to do with that? And how am I going to work? I mean, my approach is always like, how am I going to work with myself? And we all do it differently, but how am I going to encourage myself through this? Recognize the strength that I have, recognize the supports that I have. There are times where it's like, no, we're not going to go that way. Ooh, the weather feels weird. Let's turn around. Like 100%, right? We're like looking to have each other's back and be safe. We can develop these habits not only of being outdoors and being in community and being on the trail and getting healthy exercise, but also of learning how we tick and what's the best way to grow and what do we do when we get scared and all those things. I mean, I don't know if you know this. The first time I did Broken Arrow, which for those of you listening who don't know, it's a race in Tahoe that started in 2016. Alex and I did the first one together. It was a 52K race at the time. I didn't know there was a ladder involved in it. We got to the ladder, which is, for those listening, at the top of the mountain. It's rocky. There's like pretty much cliffs on both sides. I mean, it's bolted in and it's solid and strong, but it's also very scary. And I got there and I would just started crying. And I was like, no, we're going back down the way we came. And Alex was like, okay. And then I was like, no, I don't want to go back down the way we came. I want to get through this. Like, that's really scary. And thanks for letting me have my feelings about it. But now, can we go, please? And Alex and I are both really aware of this too. He's been in emergency services for so long, where we're not dysregulated pushing forward. Like, oh, I'm so afraid I'm going to fall. I'm just going to plow forward. No, like, we're going to stop. We're going to pause. I'm going to have my feelings. I'm going to cry on your shoulder. Then we're going to slowly breathe and hold on tight and hold on to the rope while we move forward through this scary thing. So I think there's so many experiences like that. It's one of the reasons I love trail running, because there's unexpected views and inspiration. There's unexpected moments of decision making of like, is this safe? Okay, I just saw someone go before me. So yeah, it seems like it is, but maybe it's not for me. And I'm going to take the
Yeah.
trail instead of the ladder today. And I just have never met anyone. I've met people that are really encouraging, but I've never, like, I would never expect to be on a trail and you'd be like, oh, you didn't do the ladder. You'd be like, oh, cool. All right. You're going to go that way. I'm going to go this way. I'll meet you on the other side. I just feel like people are so understanding and supportive of that. It's about so much more.
I remember your second ultra marathon. I still was in my cast from breaking my knee, and I ran the last 3 miles with you. We had
Yes.
all these people that were supposed to show up, and then it ended up being you and me for the last couple miles, and you just took off, and I'm still in this movable, bendable cast, and I was supposed to be there, but I couldn't make it that year because I couldn't run too well. I remember doing it the next year by myself, and I had never run a marathon. And then I am running this ultra marathon. For those that don't know, it's more than a marathon. So I'm running this 50K, and I made it to the marathon point on a trail by myself and completely broke down.
Ah,
So I'm like, I've just conquered one of the dreams I wanted to do by running a marathon, and I made it. So now if I have to walk the next 6 miles, I'm all right with that. And I
all
made
good.
all good. That was my first of, like I said, like maybe 80 ago, and it was my fastest. But
Yep.
then the next year, I got in and ran the New York City Marathon. It was my first road marathon, an experience I'll never forget in my life. The support, the people, I can remember every corner, just being there with 50,000 other people, and we all have a dream to finish. You're surrounded by all these people, but you're so alone in your focus and what you want to accomplish. I've run it one more time. I sign up every year to try to get in, and it was just an experience I'll never forget, running through every borough, seeing every type of person, you know,
Yeah.
in the world cheering for you, people you don't know running up and slapping their hand or taking a candy or a drink from them, people you would never talk to being out there. I think my favorite part was going through Harlem, just the cheers and the people screaming so loud back at them you lose your voice, and
Mm,
the high, they a lot of times, especially in road racing, we'll call it a runner's high. I think that was probably my biggest high of finishing that. And you know I want to say it was for me, but I just think it was for my being, just something I had hoped of for so long. I went to New York for my 40th birthday. My mom asked me where I wanted to go and gave me all these options. And I went there with her, never run a day in my life, never had run more than 100 yards in my life. We just happened to go on my birthday weekend, which is right at the same time the marathon is. Watching people do this, I told her one day I will do this, and my hair is really long, and I'll cut my hair the day I do this. And it was like 9 years later that I finally
Mhm.
did it. And then, the hair stayed for probably 10 more years. I just kept on upping it. Like, okay, we got to run this one. My first 50 miler, I'll do this. And it was finally, it was another life thing. I just had a bad experience for somebody I was working with, and it was time for another change. And, I changed it all because I needed to. It felt right to go into a different direction and start looking at stuff a little bit different again. I like to look in the past and go, okay, not the wisest decision. So what are we going to do to get it better and to go forward? And just kind of, one of the sayings I've had for many, many years was there's no finish line. And for me, there is none. I don't want it to ever have a finish line. I want to explore and figure out and be a part of it. And now so much giving back. I truthfully enjoy when people come to my events. It was their first half marathon. And
Yeah.
I remember what that felt like. I was going to die. It was like the hardest thing I'd ever done. And now you go do it, any given weekday, you can go run 13 miles. And just watching that joy spark with somebody else has been a big part of why I do what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience, your story, your inspiration with us. I have so many other questions. We'll address them on the trail.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll have you back on at some point. But I so appreciate this going from what I would describe as kind of like a passive life to really active, intentional, engaged, and that catalyst being something we'd all describe as pretty traumatic, right? Getting diagnosed with potentially terminal disease and getting such intensive treatment and all these unknowns. And, I also just want to say, even though we haven't told so many jokes on this episode, that like he's a really funny person too. So, like going from having these really big, difficult moments, I'd imagine even in those moments, you probably still use humor, like to have your humor and your joy alive and to be thriving in your life is a true testament. And I love that you focus too on just dreaming and not having a finish line, just continuing in the direction of a dream in an ongoing way. There's something really inspiring about that. Is there anything you'd say to someone listening who maybe has never run in their life or maybe is going through something really difficult and going, oh, could I do that?
I think for people that are going through things difficult, let people into your lives, let them share their experiences. Politics plays a big part of all of our lives now. Some of my best friends are completely on a different political platform that I'm on, and they're great people. And I think even in the world we're in today, we have to share that. And then for the running part, try something. Like you said, you don't have to run it. I started my venture by walking. I walked around Lake Merritt in Oakland for 998 days before I had my accident with my knee. And I learned and met so many people and let them into my lives. And then now I get to share that back. So if you haven't run, try it. Find somebody. You don't have to go with your friends so they don't know how fast you go or how you dress or whatever, but do something. And then once you step off the dirt or off the pavement sidewalk to the dirt, you'll probably never go back. Once you hit a trail and you see stuff, and Lisa's experiences so much with me in my life, where we live, there are magical places in your backyard.
Yeah.
You have no idea. It looks like you're in Patagonia or South America in the Oakland Hills. And, those experiences, some of my best experiences of trail running are sitting out in a trail in the dark at night, trying to figure out where I want to go.
Yeah.
And I don't like being in the dark by myself, but you
You enjoy
have
it
that
now.
urge to go. So yeah, try it. Just give yourself that opportunity to try it. You won't stop.
And what's next for you? Any races you're willing to share?
I'm looking to go back up and do some of the things with the chains and ropes and crawl across things you fall off of. And I will focus a lot on trying to return to Europe and maybe doing something I haven't done or continuing just on maybe finishing some that I haven't finished. So getting away for 5 weeks was just a godsend to my mental health. I looked forward to not doing something every day, but being out somewhere every day. So to wake up and say, I don't have anything to do today was a great, great thing.
So much medicine in that. I'm with you.
It was, but there's so much in my head I had to do. Like, oh, there's
Yeah.
all this new stuff. But that's the whole joy of it is just I think we all work so hard and do so much to take a day to yourself every once in a while is just so important to your health and recovering to a point of we're all recovering from something.
Yeah.
And you have to allow yourself that time and energy on yourself just to continue.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the races you host in May in Napa, turkey trots in the fall. So where can people follow you, find out more about the races that you host?
The easiest way to follow me myself is Todd Run on Facebook or Instagram, and I own Bay Trail Runners out of the East Bay. We're, like Lisa said, in Napa. And then I also spend a big time with Beer City, which is one of my other joys of drinking beer and running and combining it, and pretty much at every one of those events. And I just really like the fact that helps get people out. There's new things like, there's yoga with doggies and
Goat yoga.
you can find everything you want. Beer yoga, you can find everything that you want out there, but you got to try it. You just can't sit back. I'm willing to go out. Anybody that's listening that wants to go on a trail run around the parking lot. Find me at Todd Run and send me a message. And I've done this with many people.
Yes.
Still contact and still talk to, and you meet. They may live in Marin, and we're here. We'll find someplace in between, and we'll
Okay,
go.
I can't wait for that. I want to see the tag photo of you and someone who's listening running around whatever it is at whatever day, wherever. I mean, you travel around a fair amount too, so maybe we'll see a tag with you on the East Coast or the West Coast or in a different
Anywhere.
country.
Show me a new trail, or if you know a new path by your house and you're listening, I'll go with you.
I love it. Oh, thank you, Todd. And I always ask folks this, what brings you hope?
I think the future still brings me hope. It's going to be hard, but I think the hope that I get to experience as much as I can and then share it.
Yeah. Love it.
Great.
Looking forward to some more miles with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to go to howwecanheal.com to sign up for email updates. You'll also find additional trainings, tons of helpful resources, and the full transcript of each and every show. If you love the show, please leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and keep sharing the shows you love the most with all your friends. Visit howwecanheal.com/podcast to share your thoughts and ideas for the show. I always love hearing from you. Before we wrap up for today, I want to be clear that this podcast isn't offering prescriptions. It's not advice, nor is it any kind of mental health treatment or diagnosis. Your decisions are in your hands, and I encourage you to consult with any healthcare professionals you may need to support you through your unique path of healing. Also, everyone's opinion here is their own, and opinions can change. Guests share their thoughts, not that of the hosts or sponsors. I'd like to thank our guests today, everyone who